Hello again and welcome to the video blog series for Cloud from Ultima. My name is Matt Hudson, joined by Craig Wordsworth, Head of Pre-Sales Cloud. So in this video number 4, we're going to talk about cloud migration and cloud optimization services. So I guess really the key question is, how does Ultima go around and how do we help customers with that cloud migration piece?
Well, thanks, Matt. So I think it's really important to understand the different hosting models first and foremost around cloud in general, it's public cloud. Obviously, we've got infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. They're different, obviously, then they're completely different by design in terms of how they work. And as you move from IaaS, PaaS to SaaS, obviously, then there's different benefits that you get, of course, moving up that kind of stack. So the first things first is it's understanding the different hosting models that you might want to try and consume as well. Specifically in public cloud, you're generally talking about infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. And generally speaking, we find a typical kind of stage 1 migration for customers being that rehost, that lift and shift, moving from virtual machine to virtual machine. And the main reason being is because we've spoken about upskilling or lack of skill sets quite a lot. And we've spoken about new target operating models quite a lot as well. These are a lot of spinning plates, if you can imagine you move into public cloud. And one thing you don't want to do is push yourself too far. For the first year to 18 months, you get into grips with the platform. You get into grips with the tooling that you use and how that works, how you report on it. You're upskilling at the same time. What you don't want to be doing is then moving to a completely new hosting model, making a load of changes to an application and having to then work alongside that as well. Okay, so that stage 1 adoption is really, really important. But generally speaking, then when we start to plan these migrations, it's really important to know actually as well what modernization opportunities that we actually do have. Generally speaking, IaaS migrations and hosting for IaaS is the most expensive. We know that. It's the least risk, and it's the quickest way we can migrate into public cloud. So obviously there's a massive benefit there. But we mentioned again early in the videos series that it's not about standing still. Concept of data centers, once you've migrated into a new DC, you leave it for 3 to 5 years until you need to actually refresh that again. And you might do some little bits of upgrades in that kind of scenario, but then generally speaking, that platform's static by design. Whereas in public cloud, we're paying for everything. We know that. How do we then make sure that we increase the value back to the business, but also then either keep the cost the same or lower it as well? So understanding what kind of platform as a service opportunities for migrations that we do have are really, really important. And good examples would be migrating file servers to file services, for example, or migrating SQL to a SQL PaaS service, something that requires little to no modification of an application, but like I said, derives a lot more value back to the business as well.
Yeah, good. There's a load of those key examples where, particularly in the infrastructure space, things like VPN services quite easy to migrate to a cloud service, or even things like customers using Citrix and stuff. There's more native services, whether it's Citrix Cloud or whether it's Azure Virtual Desktops or whatever. There's kind of quick wins that we can help with part of that lift and shift migration, and then that long-time optimization, making sure that we can then move into that PaaS world and upskilling of those resources.
Yes, exactly.
So is there any kind of help that we can provide a customer with that? Maybe, so I know that certainly within the Microsoft world, there is some funding available to allow us to be able to help a customer with that migration.
Yeah, so it's probably first noting what we can do from a professional services perspective. And we have a service called Cloud Migrate, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's designed again to be all around how we migrate into public cloud, regardless of the platform, AWS or Azure. So again, much like what we the trend you'll be seeing is it's all standardized, structured, really quick for us to action upon. And equally then, it's from a customer perspective, understanding the key tasks of what they need to do as well as what we will do as well. There's a lot of user acceptance testing, etc., as well as part of a migration. And generally speaking, when we say to customers, how quick can we move, it's all down to the customer at that point. What do you need to do to make sure that you can tick a box to say, yes, that server or service has been migrated, we're happy with it, let's move on to the next one. So it's flexible by design at that point because of that as well. But you mentioned funding, which is really, really interesting, to be fair. From a Microsoft and an Amazon perspective, they do offer funding opportunities for partners performing these migrations on behalf of customers. And in some cases, there's quite a lot of funding to be had, I suppose. And it's all down to how much you're migrating to that platform and what inevitably that consumption is going to drive on the platform as well. But that's a partner-led service as well that we can do. Obviously, we mentioned the advanced specializations from Windows SQL and Azure Virtual Desktop, for example, from Microsoft, to give an example. These kind of accreditations allow us to access that funding as well.
Yeah, it's not a small amount of money as well. Some of these, certainly in the six figures, where obviously Microsoft want you in the cloud, as to Amazon, so they really are incentivizing not only that building stage, so the landing zone bit, that also can be funding engagements, but also that migration as well. They really want you consuming their services because, of course, they do. They're a cloud service, so I think we absolutely can help with that migration, but also make sure that we can kind of offset the cost of that at a funding perspective.
Yeah.
Cool, that's been useful. Cool. Oh, well, thank you again, Craig. And I'll be catching you up later on in the day to talk more about some of our cloud services, particularly around managed services in video 5. But thank you for watching video 4.
Thank you.
And yeah, see you next time.